Yeah.
And
I know white people
and I
that-
would like to take it from there, if I may.
Okay.
Please do.
And I love you, Oprah, and I love exactly what you said because I feel the same way on a lot of aspects of my life. But there is that very aggressive aspect of my life that I have a very specific face for. I've been in organized sports all my life, from professional, well, not professional ice hockey, but I've played in tournaments, and people generally think of ice hockey as a predominantly white sport, which it is.
Yeah.
But I've played in certain areas where I know that people are, one, defensive for me to be present with them. So I know that if I act the way that I act in the boxing gym with predominantly black and Hispanic aggressive men, there's a different face that I put on in that environment. It's a very accountable environment where you have to watch what you say and how you speak, or you will be held accountable physically. So there's a certain face I wear there, and there's a certain face I wear in that locker room, surrounded by certain people who have very definitive opinions about black people, but they have to respect me because of my skill level there. And then there's a very different face that I wear with my children in these very expensive schools that I have them in. And there's a very specific face that I wear as a celebrity. And I think the film is indicative of the faces that black men had to wear in this time, specifically in the South, and specifically as domesticated and professional people. And then there was also other faces that David Oyelowo's character had to, wear around people that he obviously at some point had a disconnect with the storyline with Yaya's character being that of the Black Panther. So the black male in this time of the civil rights movement had to wear many faces that we have been talking about for the past few days. And I think the Trayvon Martin situation was another thing that sparked another reminder that we do need to wear certain faces that represent a mentality indicative of our surrounding that Terrence spoke very wonderfully about yesterday, in terms of if Trayvon had recognized the face that he needed to wear at that particular moment, it might have been a very different outcome. So I think that, even though we've talked a lot of wonderful statements being made about historical times and presidents and whatnot, but I think what attracted me to this movie was the duality of the existence of the African-American male through this time period that was so wonderfully detailed by Mr. Lee Daniels in the civil rights movement. The relationship, the face that the Butlers got to wear around Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and then the very different face they had to wear around Nixon. So faces are a theme in this movie that can't be ignored or slighted. And I think it's something that, even though we all wish that we can be as open as certain personalities,
Right.
we as African Americans still deal with this very real situation that are the many faces that we're required to wear.
I don't mean to, but something that Lee and I have spoke about several times was the whole, yes, the duality of it all. And I think Lenny and I have spoken about this too. My mom, who is Irish American, my father, who's African American, and actually Oprah, I don't know if you remember, we did a show about this. Yeah, we did. And there was some young interracial, well, we were taught to call ourselves interracial when I was little, but biracial children and multiracial children. I'm not sure what the correct terminology is now. But I think this is going to be healthy for kids to be able to grow up to see this movie because, I mean, we were talking about it before. There's something that's so, it's deep when, you look at these times and you say, well, how glamorous that was, how that must have been for certain people. And then I always say to myself, because my mom was very active in the civil rights movement, but she was the one who had to go and get the house when they were to buy a house, wherever they wanted to buy a house, because my dad wanted to kind of assimilate and give his children a chance to, get to another level and not grow up like he did, in Bronx, at Harlem, and different places with his mom, who came from down south and migrated upwards. So I think this is something that, you're showing it's just so brave. It's the same bravery you had and you always have in your work, you know what I mean? So I just want to say personally, thank you for doing it.
I wanted to add something to this, because I started off in saying this is the face we show, that we show white people. But as long as human beings are fragmented and not solid and whole within themselves, and come to terms like Oprah has come to terms with all that she is, even white people have a face they show to white people. Everyone shows what they hope will gain acceptance into the world. But once you've accepted yourself and recognize your connectedness to the entire being, to the universe, and you're moving in a cooperative manner, as exemplified by Cecil in the film. He had the stillness of being to wait on God's hands, to wait on the universal purpose. And once that was accomplished, it wasn't accomplished at a time when he hoped it would be accomplished, but it was accomplished when it was necessary. These musical octaves, at the end, they will come to a crescendo, and there will be balance. But you have to trust that, and we have to move as a solid people. But until then, we're going to be fragmented, and we're going to blame everyone when we see them have a false face or a false tone, when it's the reflection of our own tones and our own falseness. So, we're all playing games.
The opposite of what it is. It's your inner self, in a way, that we're protecting, I think. I mean, it's always difficult, because I get asked that question. Terrence Howard, and then I'm the hype man on the side.
I'm gonna get some more questions in, because I have people waving wildly now. This woman here. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Dominga Martin with Creme Magazine. I just want to congratulate everyone on a phenomenal film and performances. Mr. Daniels. I just want to ask you, you have such a way with creating a scene where it seems very authentic. Can you talk about how you ignited the set for the cast? And for any cast who wants to answer, were there any moments where you really just had to gather yourself because of the political context and step into the performance?
Who hasn't talked?
I think
Minka.
something funny. What did
Minka.
you talk about the parrot?
Parrot.
Parrot. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Lenny, talk about the parrot.
Lenny, talk about the parrot.
Well, there was the scene where we were all in the house together, and I think Lee thought it would be nice to have a parrot. I don't think that Lee meant for the parrot to have lines and to act. But the parrot did what the parrot wanted to do, because he's a parrot, and ended up becoming a very interesting part of the scene. And yes, and I got to act with the parrot, and it was a good moment where you just go with what's happening.
He got so frustrated with the parrot, he was throwing stuff at it, and then he put it in the movie.
How about the moment where we're in the room and the parrot, where everybody's trying to act like the parrot's in the room, and then you hear on the speaker Lee go, "There's an effing parrot in the room, people."
Acknowledge that they kept acting like there was I put the parrot in the room for a reason, to throw them off, to confuse them, to make it real, to make it honest. And everybody's acting like the parrot's not squawking. I said, the parrot is squawking. It's freaking squawking. React. And so Oprah finally said, "Shut up, parrot."
I've had the privilege of working with Lee on both the Paperboy and the Butler, and thank you. I honestly can, and I'm sure I'm reiterating what others here feel. No director I work with do I feel like I am infinitely better as an actor beyond working with him, because of what we've just talked about. Yes, we're talking about a parrot here, but in other circumstances, he throws things that he gets to know you as a person, and then he makes it a point to take you to places you don't know you can get to. And he doesn't want to rehearse because he wants all the truth on screen. What he does is he finds out your truth. You have 3-hour conversations in the middle of the night where he calls you up, and you get to know each other. And then when you're on set with him, he takes you and he goes, "Rah!" And it is terrifying. It is rewarding. It is the truth. He just is the truth, and that is.
Brings you to the monitor. Tell that part.
Oh yeah. And then this is how true it gets. So he'll. Lee, we love you. No.
Okay, here it comes.
He'll bring you to the monitor and go, okay, David, come, watch this. False. Ew! Genius! Splendid. Yes!
Yes! That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God! Do not do that. If you do that in my movie again, and
Lee, how does this make you feel?
Humiliated.
Living.
These are my secrets.
Can
Humiliated with a
we
smile.
spread this and talk to Jesse and say, is there some moment that happened with you? And then Minka?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I think that it was much like what David pointed out. You know, Lee and I got to know each other pretty well in preparation for the film, and I think that what's really interesting about being on set with Lee is a balance that I haven't found on another set, and I think I can speak for a lot of the actors here that there is such a thing. Directing is such a delicate balance, and sometimes there is such a thing as having too much freedom, or being in an environment that's too rigid. And what Lee really provides is a place that is really sound and secure and rooted in truth, as some of us have spoken about, which offers you security as an actor. You know you're in a safe space. You know that it is anchored by something. You're tethered to something that needs to be told. But then also shaking the hell out of you and offering you freedom, which as an actor we all clamor for in some form or fashion, to be able to take ownership in forming and shaping a character and making a genuine contribution. We are not parrots. Right? We're not just here to recite lines. We want to try to mold something. There's a malleability to the art form, and that balance is something that I found perfected in my experience working on the film. And because we were all over the place, and we created. You spoke about the set and the art direction, creating a space that really makes you feel authentic. You don't have to imagine it. It's so much. I mean, for a living, we walk around and audition in crappy boxes and on carpet and a chair and pretend that we're in these fantastic lands, and it's pretty horrible. I hate auditioning, but when you actually are in a real authentic space and you have somebody who's so active, usually you're in an environment where it's action and you do your thing and then cut and then you get notes or yelled at, but in this, Lee is active. He's yelling at you during the take. He's yelling at you in the middle of a scene. He's doing more lines than you sometimes. And you'll sort it out later, but it keeps it alive, it keeps you surprised, it keeps you active, and you can't sleep. So authenticity is really important. And another thing that I would say is the knowing that you owe your best self when you show up, and so in preparing your research, this is a film which offers, we spoke a little bit about this last night, that offers historical context to generations watching it now. And I found in the process of researching the character of Reverend James Lawson was the role that he played in the movement was actually bringing historical context of the work of Mahatma Gandhi in South Africa and India to inform the black freedom struggle in this country. So history is always informing every single thing that we do. And that's exactly what the film strived and I think succeeded in accomplishing.